Hold on, stop everything. You know about that East Coast-West Coast rivalry in rap? That epic struggle for supremacy? Forget what you thought you knew, because the new battleground isn't the microphone anymore, it's the baseball field. When the Los Angeles Dodgers, from Kendrick Lamar's home turf, pulled off a miraculous comeback to defeat the Toronto Blue Jays, who just happened to be the team of Aubrey Drake Graham, it was more than just a sports result. It was a bold declaration of war, and the streets felt the impact immediately. I'm talking about November 1st, a date that should have been about a great game, but instead became the latest, most intense chapter in the ongoing feud between Team Kendrick and the entire Drake empire. It was chaotic, ruthless, and honestly, it was pure entertainment. Drake, the biggest name in music, was sitting in the Rogers Center, likely sipping something pricey, watching his home team get completely dominated. The tension in that stadium must have been palpable. You could almost hear the collective gasp of his fans around the world as the Dodgers began their comeback. This wasn't just a minor league game. This was high-stakes drama, the kind of match that creates legends. And Drake, the man who embodies the Toronto sports scene, was right there, a magnet for bad luck, witnessing the collapse. When that final out was made, the silence in that moment before the eruption, that was the sound of countless Kendrick Lamar fans, from Compton to every corner of the internet, ready to celebrate. As soon as the game ended, it was like a floodgate opened. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, it all turned into a hilarious, toxic frenzy aimed directly at Drake. It wasn't just, your team lost. It was the ultimate, relentless chant. The Drake curse strikes again. You have to realize the Drake curse isn't just a joke or a cute internet rumor anymore. It's a well-documented phenomenon. Whenever he publicly supports a team, wears their jersey, or boasts about his big bets on them, they consistently, tragically lose. This has happened to major soccer clubs, NBA champions, and even individual fighters in the octagon. It's like the Midas touch, but in reverse. Everything he touches turns to, well, defeat. Sure. Here's a paraphrase of the text. There are definitely skeptics who argue about chance and coincidence, claiming it's merely the law of averages. However, when you examine the increasing and undeniable evidence, the number of teams that have faltered right after receiving Drake's endorsement is greater than his music catalog. This has turned into a widespread sports superstition, a whispered tale shared in locker rooms. And the ones who love to mention it the most? You guessed it, the loyal supporters of Kendrick Lamar. For them, this isn't just a superstition, it's a tool. The ongoing rivalry, this long-standing strategic battle between the two hip-hop giants, fuels all this turmoil. They've been eyeing each other for years, exchanging subtle digs, alternating at the top of the charts, and competing for the title of King of Hip-Hop. However, earlier this year, that subtlety came to an end. Kendrick confronted him with an intensity and straightforwardness that was nearly shocking. When everything settled, critics, fans, and the entire culture largely agreed, Kendrick emerged victorious. It was a clear and decisive win. And his fans, they haven't shown much grace in their triumph. They've been unforgiving, throwing every public blunder, mistake, and lost Drake experiences, whether significant or minor, back at him with full force. When the Dodgers, the Los Angeles team that represents Kendrick's roots and cultural influence, secured their win against Toronto, it was more than just a baseball triumph. It felt like another victory for Kendrick, a strategic hit in their ongoing rivalry. Memes began to flood the internet, almost spontaneously, like a toxic stream. There were countless variations of Drake appearing heartbroken, confused, or completely defeated, often with an imaginary Kendrick in the background, beaming in full Dodgers attire. The internet's usually scattered creativity suddenly converged into a focused beam of trolling. They analyzed Drake's reaction during the game, turning his slumped posture and wide-eyed shock into viral content that spread faster than gossip in a high school cafeteria. Now let's discuss the financial aspect, because with Drake, it's always about the money. He's infamous for placing huge bets on games, often in the millions. He collaborates with major betting companies and loves flaunting his betting slips, showcasing his financial prowess. However, here's the surprising detail. There's no evidence that he placed a bet on this specific Blue Jays game. This is quite unusual for someone who thrives on public wagers. He even bets on the color of socks at children's soccer games, right? The timing of this lack of a publicized bet is extremely important. Drake is currently entangled in serious legal troubles, facing at least 2 significant lawsuits related to alleged illegal gambling promotions. Legal experts are already speculating that these cases could change the way celebrities interact with and promote betting platforms. He has remained completely silent on both lawsuits, offering no comments or strategic responses. This silence is not just golden, it raises suspicion. It raises massive questions. Is he pulling back from the betting life? Is the weight of the legal drama finally making him cautious? Is he just trying to keep his head down until the storm passes? Nobody knows, but you bet your ass every single fan, critic, and lawyer is watching his every move, especially now that the curse has had such a dramatic, public comeback. Every move he makes, every team he supports, every penny he bets, or doesn't bet, will be under a microscope. The online reaction wasn't just instant, it was visceral. Twitter threads were dedicated to a minute-by-minute deconstruction of the curse's history. Instagram pages created complex comparison videos, juxtaposing Kendrick's career-defining wins with Drake's increasingly public losses. TikTok creators were acting out elaborate skits, imagining the philosophical, existential crisis Drake must have been having while watching the final innings of the game. It was a cultural event disguised as a sports score. But honestly, the trolling had a deeper current, something more substantial than just surface-level jokes. It tapped into a long-standing, fundamental schism within hip-hop itself. Kendrick, in the eyes of his supporters, represents the substance, the complicated, raw artistic depth, the conscious side of the culture. Drake, on the other hand, represents the commercial success, the mainstream dominance, the polished, pop-friendly appeal. To the loyalists of Team Kendrick, the Dodgers' impossible comeback wasn't just a fluke. It was a metaphor. It symbolized authenticity beating popularity. It was the underdog, the real artist, defeating the industry machine. It was a perfect storm of narrative. And let's not forget the coast-to-coast rivalry, which adds a whole other layer of gasoline to this fire. Los Angeles versus Toronto isn't just about 2 cities on a map, it's a stand-in for decades of West Coast versus everyone else in the rap game. The West Coast has always carried a chip on its shoulder, a fierce pride in its legacy, and a claim to superior, foundational hip-hop culture. This baseball game, this dramatic, humiliating loss for Toronto, was like fresh, undeniable proof for the West Coast faithful. They didn't just win a game, they won a cultural argument. The fact that the Dodgers also took the World Series last year, clinching 2 championships in a row, only makes the narrative more potent. Back-to-back titles are a rarity, a sign of a dynasty. And that dynasty happens to be running parallel, in perfect sync, with Kendrick Lamar's artistic hot streak. His most recent, most devastating run in the rap game aligns perfectly with his city's sporting dominance. His fans don't see that as mere luck or coincidence. They see it as cosmic alignment. Their guy is on top of the music world, untouchable. His city is dominating the sports world, a true dynasty. And meanwhile, the opposition, the Toronto King, keeps taking high-profile, deeply embarrassing losses. The story practically writes itself in the stars. The geography, man, it truly matters here. LA isn't just where Kendrick lives, it's a sacred symbol of the entire West Coast hip-hop legacy. It carries the weight of NWA, Snoop Dogg, Tupac, a whole lineage of legendary street poets. Toronto, Drake's city, while important to him, simply doesn't command that same kind of deep-rooted, cultural weight in the overall history of rap. When the LA teams win, especially against a team repping the opposing king, it's more than a score. It's a validation of an entire coast's musical and cultural heritage, a moment of deep collective pride. The Drake curse is now firmly, unchangeably permanent in the fabric of pop culture. It has transcended whether or not it's logically real. People believe in it with the ferocity of religious conviction. It's a brand, a guaranteed headline. From here on out, every single public appearance he makes at a game will be instantly analyzed for signs of the curse's activation. Every team, player, or fighter he dares to endorse will have to answer the immediate question, are you about to lose? It's a shadow he can never shake. For the soldiers of Team Kendrick, this isn't even a major event anymore. It's just another expected victory to add to an already overflowing trophy case. They've been winning so much this year, in music and now in culture by proxy, that they're practically running out of room to stack the wins. The rivalry, the supposed Cold War that some thought would fizzle out, is actually doing the opposite. It's heating up to an unbearable degree. Both sides are fully engaged, ready to pull the trigger on social media the second one of them stumbles, whether it's on a track or a basketball court. And the question everyone is holding their breath for, what does Drake do now? He's a showman, a master manipulator of the public narrative. He never stays silent for long. He always responds, whether it's a subliminal line buried deep in a verse, a defiant social media post, or a calculated, grand public appearance designed to reclaim the spotlight. But right now, he's quiet. And that particular silence, from a man who lives on noise and spectacle, is deafening to his critics. It's a vacuum of content, and his haters are happily filling it with their own noise. The entire situation is a gift to the world of entertainment. You've got two absolute giants of hip-hop, two cultural behemoths, competing not just in the recording studio but across every possible arena, music, fashion, culture, and now, hilariously, in professional sports. Nothing is off limits, nothing is sacred. The fans on both sides are locked in for the long haul, popcorn in hand, ready for the next move, the next clapback, the next devastating loss. This story isn't just not ending soon, it's just entered a terrifying, new, and infinitely more public phase. We're all just spectators in this grand, chaotic drama, and all we can do is watch and wait for the King of Toronto to finally break his silence. When he does, you better believe the internet is going to absolutely melt down. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this situation, so please share your opinions in the comments. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to stay updated on this story.